Hi, my name is Emily. I want to tell you a story. It's a story about a journey to speak fluent English. I remember when I was younger, I couldn't speak English well. It made me feel small, like I didn't fit in. I was scared to talk to others. My friends would chat easily, laughing and smiling, but I would sit quietly. I wanted to speak like them, but the words wouldn't come out right. One day, my teacher, Mrs. Brown, noticed. She came to me after class and said, "Emily, I know you're struggling, but don't worry. You can do this." Her words gave me hope. I didn't feel so alone anymore. I realized that I wasn't the only one who had trouble with English. Many others did too. The first thing Mrs. Brown told me was to start small. "Emily, don't try to speak fast," she said. "Start with simple words. Speak slowly. It's okay to make mistakes." That's when I learned my first lesson. Mistakes are okay. They are part of learning. I remember my first attempt. I was at a grocery store with my mom. I tried to ask the cashier a question in English, but I couldn't find the right words. I was embarrassed. My cheeks turned red, and I wanted to cry. But my mom gave me a gentle smile. She said, "It's okay, Emily. You did great just by trying." That night, I cried a little. I felt so frustrated. Why was it so hard to speak English? But then I remembered Mrs. Brown's words, "You can do this." I wiped my tears and made a promise to myself. I would try again and again. I wouldn't give up. The next day I practiced more. I stood in front of the mirror and said simple sentences. "My name is Emily. I like ice cream." I practiced over and over. I felt silly at first, but slowly the words felt more natural. I also started listening to English songs. Music was a big help. I would listen to my favorite songs and sing along. At first, I didn't understand all the words. But as I listened more, I began to catch new words. I started looking up their meanings and learning how to use them. One day, while I was listening to a song, I cried. The lyrics were so beautiful, and I realized how powerful language can be. English wasn't just a subject in school. It was a way to connect with people, to share emotions, to tell stories. As time went on, I found more ways to practice. I watched movies with subtitles, trying to understand how the characters spoke. I would repeat their lines, pretending I was in the movie. It felt fun, like playing a game. Slowly, I started to pick up new phrases and expressions. But there were still days when I felt discouraged Sometimes I'd try to speak in English, but I would forget words or mix them up. I felt embarrassed. One time I was talking to my friend Sarah, and I couldn't remember the word umbrella instead. I said, "Rain cover." Sarah laughed, but it wasn't a mean laugh. She just found it cute, and that made me smile. I realized that people weren't judging me as much as I thought. Most people just wanted to understand me, and they appreciated that I was trying. That's when I learned another important lesson: don't be afraid of making mistakes. They don't make you weak, they make you stronger. English started to feel like a friend. The more I practiced, the more comfortable I became. I would talk to myself in English when no one was around. What should I wear today? I need to finish my homework. Simple things, but they helped me get used to speaking the language. One day, something amazing happened. I was in class, and Mrs. Brown asked a question. Without thinking, I raised my hand and answered in English. It wasn't perfect, but I did it. My classmates clapped for me, and I felt proud. That was a big moment for me. It showed me that all my practice was paying off. I remember walking home that day with a big smile on my face. I thought about how far I had come. A few months ago, I was too scared to speak. Now I was answering questions in class. I felt like I could do anything. But the journey didn't end there. I still had a lot to learn. I wanted to get better, so I kept practicing. Every day, I would learn a new word or phrase. I'd write them down in a little notebook and try to use them in sentences. There were still times when I felt frustrated. Sometimes I would try to speak, but the words wouldn't come out the way I wanted. It made me feel like crying again. But then I would remember how far I had come. I wasn't perfect, but I was getting better, little by little. One night, I was lying in bed, thinking about my journey. I realized that learning English was like climbing a mountain. At first, it seemed impossible. The mountain was so tall, and I was so small. But step by step, I was getting closer to the top. It didn't matter if I slipped along the way. What mattered was that I kept going. Then, something amazing happened. I made a new friend, Katie. She was from another country and didn't speak much English. We started talking, and I realized that she was struggling just like I had. I remembered how lonely I had felt, and I didn't want her to feel the same way. So I helped her. I shared the tips that Mrs. Brown had given me. Don't rush, I told her. It's okay to speak slowly. And don't worry about making mistakes. We all make them. Katie smiled at me, and I felt so happy. Helping her reminded me of my own journey, and it made me realize how much I had grown. Over time, Katie and I became close friends. We practiced English together. Sometimes we would laugh at the funny mistakes we made. Other times we would encourage each other when things got hard. English wasn't just a language anymore, it was something that brought us together. I started to notice how English was changing my life. I could talk to more people, understand more things, and even help others. It made me feel confident. It made me feel strong. Now, I want to share some tips that helped me along the way. First, don't be afraid to speak. Even if you make mistakes, it's important to try. The more you speak, the better you'll get. Second, surround yourself with English. Listen to songs, watch movies, and read books. The more you hear the language, the more familiar it will become. Finally, be patient with yourself. Learning a new language takes time. It's okay if you don't get everything right the first time. What matters is that you keep going. You're not just learning English, you're building confidence too. I'm still on my journey, and I know there's more to learn, but I'm proud of how far I've come. And I know that you can do it too. Now, I want to hear from you. What challenges are you facing with learning English? What tips have helped you? Let's keep this conversation going. We can all help each other on this journey.